bruschetta is so easy to make, it's ridiculous. And all my tomatoes are different sizes, so I'm not sure. I'll have to cut them in different ways. I'm really sad to cut these tiny ones that are so cute. I don't know if you can see these, but they're absolutely adorable. And it probably isn't a good thing that, that they only got this tiny. I'm tempted to just leave them whole. Even though you really need the juice of the tomatoes to make the bruschetta, I think I'll leave the teeniest little tomatoes whole. For the bigger ones, I will definitely cut them up. And it doesn't matter if you use Roma tomatoes or big heirloom tomatoes or cherry tomatoes, grape, strawberry tomatoes. It really doesn't matter as long as they're very ripe and very juicy. Oh, it's starting to rain. I've been getting a lot of rain here lately. Reminds me a bit of when I used to live in Vancouver or Seattle. A lot of rain. Some people are picky about the little bit on the tomato where the stem connected. I'm not, especially on these little tiny tomatoes. I don't even notice them, so I'm gonna leave them intact like that. Whoops. Don't do that. Whatever you do. So bruschetta is perfect for a snack with a few other things, for like an aperitivo. It's perfect if you're expecting guests, especially like on pretty last minute, because it's pretty easy to throw together. If you know that people are stopping by in an hour, you can easily just dice up a bunch of tomatoes and throw on some herbs and garlic and olive oil and just throw that. Well, you don't even have to throw it in the fridge because it's kind of tastier when it's room temperature. And then just toast up some bread or crackers. Don't toast your crackers. That's not what I meant. Yeah. Oops. Same with the tapenade that we're going to make later. So you can see these tomatoes are really juicy. They're really, really ripe. They're beautiful. You can't get much more perfect than this, honestly. I can smell them. They smell so good. They smell so ripe and delicious. Okay, well, I'll finish with the big ones and then get creative. These little tiny guys, I'll probably just cut them depending on which ones. These ones I might just cut in half, and then these ones in 4, probably. And like I said, these little teeny tiny ones, we'll leave them whole. They're so cute. If any of you have different recipes for bruschetta that you like to make, please definitely comment below and let me know what you do differently. I always love trying new recipes out. I love suggestions and requests, so please don't hesitate to comment. I have picked some basil from the garden, but as you can see, I am competing. Can you see this? I don't know where the camera is, but I am definitely competing with some snails. We have so many snails this year. I have never ever seen so many snails in our garden before, ever. And it's incredible. I've never had a problem getting to eat our basil. Usually we have a problem with cabbage moths who eat all of our greens, but it's pretty rare that, well, pretty rare. It's the first time. It's the first time we've had all these, oops, that's way too big. It's the first time that we've had a snail infestation to the point where we can barely eat some of our food. They love basil, love it. They love it so much. The basil and the bergamot, they're all over it. It's incredible. You can also cut this up. You don't need to tear it into little tiny pieces. I just find that when you cut it, it tends to bruise. So if I'm not cooking it and I want it to look cute, I try to tear it up. Not that it won't bruise at all, but it seems to bruise a lot more when you cut it with a knife for some reason. I'm sure there's a very real and technical reason for that I don't know. Feel free to let me know. I also have some really beautiful fresh oregano from the garden that thankfully the snails don't seem to care for. What's fun is when you have these little teeny tiny leaves and you don't have to tear them at all, and then they still keep their adorable little shape when they're in the food. I'm gonna add balsamic to this. I'm gonna add some olive oil, as well as a pinch of salt and some pepper. I'm also going to add some garlic. I know not everybody loves garlic, and a lot of people don't love it raw. And if you don't tolerate it well raw or don't digest it well raw, you can definitely saute it in a little bit of olive oil before you put it in. Or if you really don't like it, obviously you can just omit it altogether. But I love garlic, so I'm definitely going to add some, and I'm crushing it just because I don't want to mince it and have it take over too much. The bruschetta is delicate. It's that's a lot, eh? Yeah. That's a lot of garlic for this little tiny bowl of tomatoes. Whatever, I love it, so we're doing it. Look how beautiful that is. It's just gorgeous. To make a mushroom bruschetta, you could use a variety of different mushrooms. You can use just your basic button mushrooms or cremini mushrooms. You could also do this with a shiitake, a maitake. I mean, there's just so many different wild mushrooms that you could do this with, and it would be delicious. I got these in my farm basket yesterday, and honestly, the oyster mushrooms are a tiny bit beaten up and maybe a little bit damper than I would like them to be. And the pio pino mushrooms, which I've never tried before and I'm really excited to try. I hope it works well for this. They're actually starting to dry out a little bit. So it's not a big, huge deal because we're gonna saute them. And so the juices will come out a bit and the olive oil will moisten that up. But that's unfortunate. I would have liked to have tried them in their peak prime condition. Anyway, so we're just gonna chop these up and cook them. So with a lot of mushrooms, you can eat quite a bit of the stem. You just need to feel for the parts that are kind of woody. Like if you see on here, this is pretty dry and woody. Quite a lot of the stem, honestly. Like I said, they're a bit dried out, these ones. But so I would take off anything that doesn't feel like it's gonna feel good in your mouth, basically. And the small ones, because mushrooms do shrink quite a bit, I'm pretty tempted to just leave. Should I just leave them? I think I'm gonna leave them like this. I might regret this, I'm not sure. We'll find out. This is my style. This is how I cook. Hoping I won't regret the decisions that I'm making. These will shrink quite a bit though, so I think it should be fine. Just trying to think of what other mushrooms. I mean, there's many different kinds of oyster mushrooms as well. So like black oyster mushrooms would be probably really tasty also. What else? Would lobster mushroom maybe? Maybe. There's just so many. And there's more and more that are more readily available and easier to get your hands on. My favorite place to get mushrooms right now is a market about a half, okay, this is big, we're gonna cut that. It's a market about half an hour, maybe half an hour from our place. And but it's an outside market, so if it rains, like it's raining today, it's not usually open, and if it is open, there's hardly any vendors there because they don't want to be getting all of their products soaking wet. A few of them have tents, but not everybody does, so today would not be a good day to go and replace these mushrooms. I think they're fine. They're just a little bit dry, and they're just, you know, not as peak perfection as I would like them to be. So yeah, that's a lot of mushroom butt. So if I had more mushrooms, I would just go ahead and throw them in and just see what happens. But again, that's kind of the way I do things. Let's just see what happens. All right. Again, I'm gonna add garlic to the bruschetta, but this time it'll be milder and a bit sweeter even, because it will be sauteed in the oil a little bit with the mushrooms. This isn't gonna be a raw bruschetta, this is gonna be sauteed. So, ooh, I still have some garlic left from the, oh, I also still have some peel. Okay, so I have a bit of garlic left in here from the from the tomato bruschetta, but I will add this to the oil when it's nice and warm, when the pan is warm, along with some fresh thyme. Warmed up my pan, and I have added the oil, which is now warming up also, and to that I will add my garlic. I didn't turn the heat on too high because I don't want to burn the garlic. I'm also adding my fresh thyme to the oil, and this will give the oil an aromatic smell and taste, of course. And then we'll toss the mushrooms in, and you'll see how much smaller they get. It's pretty special. Like I said, we're just gonna saute these until the mushrooms are nice and tender but not soggy. So for the olive tapenade, I promise you the most difficult part of making this is getting the olives out of the pits. And if you got pitted olives, then you're laughing because there's almost nothing to do. There's many ways to make this, but I am going to make the simplest of versions with the least amount of ingredients just to show you how easy it can be. I've made this before with, I think, oh yeah, on my website, on sweetvegan.net, there is a recipe for tapenade with fig and orange and rosemary because it was more of a holiday, like a festive tapenade, and you can definitely play around with, I don't know why I have such a tiny knife. I think it's because I was going to try and get the olives out of the pits with this tiny knife. This is not working. One second. Well, I can still talk to you. I don't know if you can hear me though. But yes, as I was saying, it's a versatile thing, and you can actually change the herbs and the spices and even the olives around if you want to have different flavors. So that's really fun. Sometimes I put oregano in my tapenade. Sometimes I put basil. Today I am putting just a little bit of chopped parsley. You can put as little or as much of the herbs as you want, whatever you like, whatever tastes good to you. Same thing goes for the olives. So I've only ever made tapenade with Kalamata olives, these ones, the black olives. But today I'm adding Castelvetrano olives, which are these green ones, and the reason why I'm doing that is just because I love them, and right now they're my favorite olives ever. So I don't think I've ever actually mixed olives making a tapenade, but there's no reason not to. As long as you love all of the olives that you're putting in there, all of the olives that you're adding to your tapenade, it really doesn't matter. Naturally, I'm adding some garlic, as I do to so many things, and I will also add some olive oil to this as well. Here's the thing, you can put all of this in a food processor or a blender and have more of a paste or a spread for your tapenade. You can chop it really roughly and have like a really chunky tapenade that you just, I don't know, use a fork to to shovel it onto your toasted baguette, or you can do a mix of the two. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'll probably, yeah, that is what I'm gonna do. So I will just blend about half of this up in a little blender or little mini food processor, and then the rest of it will stay just very roughly chopped. Same goes for the parsley, and because I'll keep the parsley and the garlic, olive oil, yeah. I'm starting with the Kalamata olives because they're so much easier to get out of the pit. I don't even know how to get these out. All right, just distracted myself. Let's see. Let's try. Oh, that wasn't so bad. A little firmer, but not terrible. Okay. If you are pitting your olives by hand and you are very sensitive, not emotionally, but if your skin if your skin is very sensitive, you might want to wear gloves, because especially if you're doing a big batch of this, because the salt from in the brine of the olives can start to sting your hands a little bit. I love tapenade so much. It's so tasty, and it's so expensive to buy already made. It's crazy how easy it is to make and how expensive it is. And sometimes I buy it because I see it and I think, oh yes, I love tapenade, it's so delicious, I need to buy this. And then I will remember later that I could have just made it myself in under an hour for way less money. And we always have probably at least 2 kinds of olives in the fridge at all times. See, for this, like a jar of tapenade of this size, like those little tiny jars, can cost anywhere between like $5 and $9. It's crazy. This definitely is not $9 or even $5 worth of olives. This is going to be so tasty, especially with the tomato bruschetta and the mushroom bruschetta and all of this with some toasted baguette. It's going to be so tasty with a nice glass of wine. You could have this with a refreshing mocktail or iced tea or lemonade. I keep wanting to show you a really delicious recipe for an iced herbal tea. Well, okay, no, I'm getting distracted. I'm having ideas. That's what happens to me when I'm cooking. For those of you who are still watching, I thank you so much. I thank you and I thank you. It means so much to me to know that all of the work that I put into this is appreciated by you. So thank you. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, I can't even thank you enough for believing in what I'm doing, for contributing to it, and for helping to make this channel possible. So thank you for that. And if you would like to work one-on-one with me for nutrition or naturopathy, there is a booking link in the description below. I will see you all next week, and until then, take really good care of yourselves. Bye.